What if I told you that the secret sexual desire you hide from everyone isn't just a random impulse, but a sacred code that God engraved in your soul to reveal your true destiny? Carl Jung discovered something disturbing. Your most intimate sexual fantasies carry ancestral symbols that point directly to your life's mission. What turns you on is not accidental. It's a divine language that most people never learn to decipher. While the world teaches you to repress and feel shame, Jung revealed that God's chosen ones receive messages from the collective unconscious through these desires. Every image, every fantasy, every inexplicable attraction is a clue about who you really are and what you came here to do. In this video, you'll discover how to read the signs your body and mind have been sending for years. Get ready, because what comes next will completely change how you see your sexuality and your purpose on Earth. There's a reason why certain images appear in your mind during your most private moments. These aren't just random thoughts or meaningless desires floating through your consciousness. Jung spent decades studying the human psyche and discovered that what emerges in our sexual fantasies comes from a place far deeper than personal experience. It comes from the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of human wisdom that connects every soul who has ever lived on this planet. When you feel drawn to specific scenarios, particular dynamics, or certain types of connection, your unconscious mind is speaking a language older than civilization itself. The chosen ones throughout history have always received their calling through symbols, and sexual desire is one of the most powerful symbolic languages that exists. Your body knows things your conscious mind has forgotten. It remembers the blueprint of your soul before you were taught to ignore it. Think about the fantasies that keep returning to you, the ones that feel almost magnetic in their pull. These recurring themes aren't accidents or signs of moral failure. They're breadcrumbs leading you toward your authentic self. Jung called these recurring symbols archetypes, and they show up in dreams, myths, religions, and yes, in your sexual imagination. The hero, the lover, the sage, the rebel. These aren't just characters in stories. They're forces living inside you, trying to guide you toward your destiny. The divine speaks to the chosen through sensation and feeling, because these bypass the rational mind that society has trained to censor and control. When something excites you on a primal level, pay attention. Not to act on every impulse, but to decode what that impulse is really trying to tell you about who you are meant to become. A desire for dominance might reveal your need to take control of your life's direction. A fantasy of surrender could be showing you where you need to release control and trust a higher power. A longing for connection might be pointing you toward your purpose as a healer or teacher. Religious traditions have always known that sexuality and spirituality are intertwined. Sacred texts speak of divine union, mystical marriage, and spiritual ecstasy, using the language of physical intimacy. The Song of Solomon isn't just poetry, it's a roadmap. Ancient temples had sacred sexuality as part of their worship. Why? Because they understood what modern society has forgotten, that sexual energy is creative energy, and creative energy is divine energy. Your fantasies contain clues about your suppressed gifts. If you're drawn to scenarios where you're teaching or guiding someone, you might be ignoring a calling to mentor others in your waking life. If your imagination keeps creating situations where you're the center of attention, perhaps you're meant to step into a more visible role in the world, but fear has kept you hidden. If you fantasize about rescuing or protecting others, your soul might be pushing you toward a path of service that you've been avoiding because it seems too difficult or thankless. The symbols in your sexual imagination also reveal your wounds, and healing these wounds is often the key to unlocking your purpose. Jung believed that our greatest gifts emerge from our deepest pain. If your desires revolve around being valued and cherished, you may have experienced profound rejection that once healed will enable you to help others feel seen and loved. If power dynamics fascinate you, you might be working through experiences of powerlessness that will eventually position you to empower others. God doesn't speak in the sanitized language of religious platitudes. The divine communicates through the raw, honest, sometimes uncomfortable truths that bubble up from your unconscious when your defenses are down. Your sexual fantasies are one of the few places where your true self can express itself without the heavy hand of social conditioning telling it to be quiet and behave. This is why repression is so dangerous. It doesn't just silence your desires, it silences the voice of your soul trying to guide you home. The chosen ones learn to sit with their desires without judgment, to examine them with curiosity rather than shame. This doesn't mean acting on every impulse or abandoning moral principles. It means recognizing that these impulses carry information. They're telegrams from the depths of your being, written in a symbolic code that takes wisdom to interpret. When you stop fighting your fantasies and start listening to them, you discover they're not trying to lead you astray. They're trying to lead you toward your true calling, toward the life you were born to live, toward the person you were created to become. Now that you understand your fantasies carry coded messages, you need to recognize how the divine uses your physical sensations as a communication channel. Your body is not separate from your spiritual nature. It's the instrument through which spirit expresses itself in the material world. Jung understood that we are not souls trapped in bodies, but rather embodied souls, and the body has its own intelligence that often surpasses what the thinking mind can grasp. When you experience attraction, arousal, or desire, these aren't merely biological responses to external stimuli. They're moments when the boundary between the conscious and unconscious becomes thin, when the deeper truth of who you are rises to the surface. The chosen receive guidance through bodily sensations because the body cannot lie the way the mind can. Your thoughts can be manipulated by fear, social pressure, and false beliefs. Your body simply responds to truth. Have you ever felt an inexplicable pull toward someone the moment you met them? A sensation in your chest or stomach that defied logic? Have you ever experienced a sudden wave of energy when thinking about a particular path in life? These physical responses are not random firings of neurons. They're your inner compass orienting you toward your destiny. The body recognizes resonance with people, places, and purposes that align with your soul's mission before your conscious mind has processed any information. Throughout history, mystics and prophets have described divine encounters in visceral, embodied terms. They speak of burning sensations, trembling, waves of heat or cold, feelings of expansion or contraction. These descriptions sound remarkably similar to how people describe sexual arousal and attraction. This isn't coincidence. It's the same life force moving through the body, the same divine energy that creates worlds and births new realities. Sexual energy is simply one expression of the creative power that runs through all of existence. When God wants to redirect a chosen one's path, the message often comes through the body first. You might suddenly lose attraction to a partner who once excited you, not because something is wrong with either of you, but because that connection has served its purpose in your growth, and it's time to move forward. You might feel unexpectedly drawn to someone who seems completely wrong on paper, because your soul recognizes in them a catalyst for your next phase of evolution. Your body knows before your mind accepts it. This is why paying attention to what genuinely arouses you matters so deeply. Not the pornographic images society tries to sell you, not the performances you put on for partners, but the authentic stirrings that emerge from your core. When you feel that authentic spark, you're feeling the movement of divine energy through your being. That energy wants to flow, to create, to manifest something new in the world. Sexual arousal is life force activation, and life force activation is the beginning of all transformation. Many spiritual traditions teach that awakening this energy, whether they call it Kundalini, Chi, or the Holy Spirit, is the path to enlightenment and fulfilling your purpose. This energy sits coiled at the base of your spine, waiting for the right moment to rise and activate your full potential. Your sexual desires are invitations from this energy, calling you to wake up and step into your power. When you feel desire, you're feeling the divine saying, "There's more life available to you than you're currently living." The body also speaks through what it rejects. If you feel numb or disconnected during intimacy, your body is telling you something is misaligned. If certain acts or dynamics create a sense of contraction or heaviness, that's divine guidance steering you away from what doesn't serve your highest path. The chosen learn to distinguish between the expansion that comes from authentic desire and the contraction that comes from people-pleasing or performing for approval. One leads to life, the other to slow death of the spirit. Your physical responses reveal your values and your calling. If tenderness and gentle connection arouse you deeply, you might be called to bring more softness and compassion into a harsh world. If intensity and passion light you up, you might be destined to pursue your purpose with fierce dedication. If novelty and adventure excite you, your mission likely involves breaking new ground rather than maintaining tradition. The body doesn't just tell you what you want in bed, it tells you how you're meant to show up in the world. Jung discovered that when people ignore the body's wisdom, they become sick, not just physically, but spiritually. Depression, anxiety, and a sense of meaninglessness often stem from disconnection between what the body knows is true and what the mind has been convinced to believe. The chosen heal this split by honoring bodily wisdom. They understand that when God speaks through sensation, through attraction, through the rising of desire, this is not temptation to be resisted, but revelation to be received with gratitude and careful attention. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. Understanding that your body speaks divine truth leads naturally to recognizing the specific symbols that appear in your desires. These symbols are not random. They're a precise language that reveals exactly what you came to Earth to accomplish. Jung spent his life cataloging these universal symbols and discovered they appear across all cultures, all times, all peoples. They live in your unconscious, waiting to guide you if you learn to read them correctly. Water appearing in your fantasies carries profound meaning. Whether you dream of oceans, rivers, rain, or simply find yourself drawn to intimacy near water, this symbol speaks to emotional depth and the flow of feeling through your life. Those who resonate with water imagery are often meant to be healers, counselors, or artists. Their mission involves diving into the depths of human emotion and bringing up treasures that others fear to touch. If water excites you, you're being called to work with the unconscious itself to help others navigate their inner worlds. Fire symbols reveal a completely different calling. If intensity, heat, passion and burning desire dominate your inner landscape, you carry the archetype of transformation. Fire destroys and purifies. Those drawn to fire energy are meant to burn away what no longer serves, to bring light into darkness, to ignite passion in others who have grown cold and numb. Your mission involves catalyst work, showing up in people's lives to spark change, even when that change feels uncomfortable or destructive at first. The world needs those willing to burn down the old, to make space for the new. Earth symbolism appears through desires for stability, grounding, physical sensation, and tangible connection. If you find yourself drawn to the sensory aspects of intimacy, touch, taste, smell, the weight of bodies, the reality of flesh, you carry the archetype of the builder. Your purpose involves creating something lasting in the material world. You're meant to take spiritual truths and make them practical, to ground divine inspiration into concrete reality. Whether through business, art, farming, construction, or family, you build the structures that allow spirit to dwell on earth. Air symbols show up as fascination with breath, words, communication during intimacy, or the mental aspects of attraction. Those who resonate with air are meant to be messengers, teachers, writers, speakers. Your mission involves carrying ideas from one realm to another, translating the language of the unconscious into words others can understand. You bring fresh perspective, new thoughts, innovative solutions. If intellectual connection turns you on more than anything physical, you're being shown that your purpose lives in the realm of mind and communication. Animals appearing in your symbolic landscape each carry specific messages. The snake represents transformation and healing, medical wisdom, the ability to shed old skin and emerge renewed. If serpent energy calls to you, you're meant to guide others through major life transitions. The lion speaks of courage, leadership, royal authority. Lion energy marks those destined to rule, not through domination, but through noble strength. The dove signals peace, gentleness, the ability to bring warring factions together. Dove people are meant to be peacemakers and mediators. The wolf appears for those called to work with tribes and communities, to understand pack dynamics and teach others about loyalty and belonging. The eagle marks visionaries who see from great heights and must share that perspective with those stuck in the valley. The deer indicates gentle souls meant to model grace under pressure. Each animal that captures your imagination is showing you an aspect of your divine assignment. Pay attention to which creatures appear repeatedly in your thoughts and dreams. Sacred geometry shows up in desires for symmetry, balance, particular positions or arrangements. If you find yourself drawn to specific patterns or formations, you're being shown the mathematical precision underlying creation itself. Those who resonate with geometric symbols are often meant to work with systems, to create order from chaos, to build frameworks that others can follow. Your mission involves seeing the hidden patterns that govern reality and making them visible. Mythological figures appearing in your fantasy life are direct messages from the collective unconscious. If you're drawn to the energy of gods and goddesses, whether that's Zeus, Aphrodite, Thor, Kali, or others, you're being shown which divine archetype you're meant to embody. Each deity represents specific qualities and missions. Aphrodite energy marks those meant to teach about love, beauty, and pleasure. Athena energy indicates strategic wisdom and just warfare. Mars energy shows those meant to fight for what's right. These aren't just stories, they're templates for human possibility. The shadow also appears in your desires, showing you the rejected parts of yourself that hold tremendous power. Jung taught that what we refuse to acknowledge doesn't disappear. It goes underground and controls us from there. If darkness, taboo, or forbidden themes appear in your fantasies, this isn't evidence of corruption. It's your psyche trying to integrate rejected power. The chosen ones face their shadow desires with honesty and extract the medicine hidden there. Often your greatest gift lies wrapped in what you've been most ashamed of wanting. Colors carry meaning too. Red speaks of vitality, passion, root energy, survival power. Those drawn to red are meant to work with primal life force. Blue indicates communication, truth, expression. Blue people are meant to speak what others cannot say. Green represents growth, fertility, abundance. Green energy marks those destined to cultivate and nurture. Gold signifies divine consciousness, enlightenment, spiritual mastery. If gold captivates you, you're meant to help others awaken to their divine nature. Purple combines red and blue, earthly passion meeting heavenly wisdom, and marks those meant to bridge spiritual and material worlds. Every symbol appearing in your desires is a piece of the puzzle showing you your complete mission. You don't need to understand all of them immediately. Simply begin noticing what captures your attention, what excites you, what feels magnetic. Write these symbols down. Research their meanings across different cultures and traditions. The patterns will emerge, and when they do, you'll see clearly what you came here to do. Once you grasp that symbols in your desires reveal your mission, the next piece of the puzzle becomes clear. The specific people who attract you are not random either. Every person who has ever made your heart race or your body respond carries a message about your path. Jung called this projection, but it's far more than just seeing your own qualities in others. It's divine orchestration bringing teachers into your life disguised as lovers and attractions. The people you desire most intensely often embody qualities your soul needs to develop. If you find yourself repeatedly drawn to confident, assertive individuals, your unconscious is showing you that you need to cultivate those qualities within yourself. The attraction isn't really about them. It's about recognizing dormant power in you that wants to emerge. God sends these people into your awareness to wake up sleeping parts of your nature. They're mirrors reflecting back what you're meant to become. Sometimes attraction reveals wounds that need healing before you can step into your purpose. If you consistently desire people who are unavailable, distant, or emotionally cold, this pattern is showing you an early wound around worthiness and love. Your soul is trying to heal this wound by repeatedly creating opportunities to choose differently. The chosen ones eventually recognize these patterns and stop following them. They understand that healing the wound is the actual mission, not winning the unavailable person. Once healed, their entire life path opens up. The timing of when certain people enter your life matters immensely. That person who appeared exactly when you were considering a major life change isn't coincidence. That sudden attraction to someone completely different from your usual type isn't random. Divine timing brings specific people into your field when you're ready for the lesson or activation they carry. Sometimes these connections last only days or weeks, just long enough to catalyze your next evolution. Other times they become lifelong partnerships that support your mutual missions. Chemistry between two people often indicates compatible or complementary destinies. When you feel electric connection with someone, your life force is recognizing another soul you're meant to walk beside, learn from, or collaborate with. This doesn't always mean romantic partnership. Some of the most powerful attractions in your life might be pointing you toward business partners, creative collaborators, or spiritual allies. The energy between you is showing you that together you can accomplish something neither could alone. Pay attention to what qualities attract you most in others. If intelligence turns you on, you're meant to develop and use your own mind more fully. If kindness and compassion attract you, you're being called to embody those qualities more completely. If ambition and drive excite you, you have big goals you've been afraid to pursue. The traits that make your heart pound are traits your soul wants to express more fully. Every attraction is an invitation to grow into a more complete version of yourself. The people who repel you also carry messages. Strong aversion is still strong energy, and Jung taught us that what we reject in others often represents rejected aspects of ourselves. If certain types of people trigger intense negative reactions in you, examine what they represent. The chosen ones become curious about their aversions rather than simply avoiding them. Often what repels you most is actually a quality you need to integrate, even if in a different form. Someone you judge as too loud might be showing you that you need to use your voice more. Someone you see as too selfish might be revealing your need for better boundaries. Unrequited desire teaches some of the most important lessons. When you want someone who doesn't want you back, the universe is redirecting you. This isn't rejection, it's protection and guidance. That person would have taken you off your path. The pain of unreturned attraction is actually divine intervention, steering you towards someone or something better aligned with your purpose. The chosen ones learn to trust this redirection instead of forcing connections that aren't meant to be. Physical type preferences also carry meaning. If you're consistently drawn to a particular look, body type, or appearance, explore what that represents symbolically. Tall people might represent the elevated perspective or higher consciousness you're meant to embody. Curvy bodies might symbolize abundance and the full expression of life force you're meant to allow. Athletic builds might represent the discipline and dedication your mission requires. These preferences aren't shallow. They're symbolic communications about qualities you need to develop or paths you need to walk. The age of people you're attracted to reveals something about your relationship with time and maturity. Attraction to older individuals often indicates you're meant to step into wisdom and leadership before your years would suggest. Attraction to younger energy might show you need to reconnect with playfulness, spontaneity, or beginner's mind. Attraction to peers suggests you're meant to walk alongside others as equals, learning and teaching simultaneously. None of these patterns are better or worse. They're simply different assignments. Ultimately, every person who has ever stirred desire in you was sent by divine intelligence to teach you something crucial about yourself and your path. Some taught through presence, others through absence, some through joy, others through pain. All were necessary. When you look back at your history of attractions with this understanding, you can see the perfect curriculum unfolding. Each person prepared you for the next stage. Each desire moved you closer to your true calling. Nothing was wasted, and no one appeared by accident. Now that you recognize how the people who attract you are guiding your journey, we must address the most powerful teacher of all, the desire you've been most afraid to acknowledge. Every chosen one has at least one forbidden longing, something they've hidden even from themselves, because admitting it feels too dangerous, too shameful, too impossible. Yet Jung discovered that these forbidden desires hold the most concentrated power for transformation, and often point directly to your most important work in the world. What you forbid yourself to want reveals where society has most successfully conditioned you away from your authentic nature. From childhood, you receive thousands of messages about what's acceptable and what's not. You learn to hide parts of yourself that didn't fit the acceptable mold. Those hidden parts didn't disappear. They became shadow material, operating beneath your awareness, but influencing everything you do. The desire you've buried deepest is usually the one most essential to your purpose. Religious upbringing often creates the strongest prohibitions. If you were taught that certain thoughts or feelings make you sinful or dirty, those exact thoughts and feelings probably contain your greatest spiritual gifts. This seems backwards, but it's how the psyche works. What gets repressed with the most force is what carries the most energy. That energy doesn't vanish. It goes underground where it can't be consciously directed. The forbidden desire is trying to break through because it contains life force you desperately need to fulfill your mission. Many people fear that acknowledging forbidden desires means they'll have to act on them in destructive ways. This fear keeps them locked in perpetual internal war, fighting themselves instead of understanding themselves. Jung taught that consciousness transforms energy. When you bring something from shadow into light, its power changes. The compulsive, dangerous quality comes from repression, not from the desire itself. When you can look directly at what you want without judgment, you gain the ability to channel that energy constructively. The forbidden often involves power dynamics that make people uncomfortable. Desires for control or surrender, dominance or submission can feel shameful because society tells us these things shouldn't exist in spiritually evolved people. But these are some of the most ancient and sacred dynamics in human experience. The desire to surrender isn't weakness. It's the recognition that something greater than your small self needs to take the wheel of your life. The desire for control isn't tyranny. It's the acknowledgement that you have power and responsibility you've been afraid to claim. Sometimes the forbidden desire is simply for pleasure itself. You were taught that wanting pleasure is selfish, indulgent, sinful. You learned to martyr yourself, to serve everyone else, to deny your own needs. The desire for pleasure keeps surfacing because your soul knows that joy is not optional, it's fuel. You cannot complete your mission running on empty, powered only by duty and obligation. The chosen ones learn that claiming pleasure is not selfish. It's necessary maintenance of the vessel through which divine work flows. For some, the forbidden desire involves multiple partners or non-traditional relationship structures. Society has rigid rules about how love and intimacy should look. When your authentic nature doesn't fit those rules, you're taught something is wrong with you. But throughout history, many spiritual traditions and cultures have honored diverse ways of loving and connecting. If your desires don't fit the standard template, perhaps you're meant to help create new templates to show others that there are many valid paths to love and connection. The forbidden might be same-gender attraction in a world or family that condemns it. The pain of this particular prohibition runs deep because it strikes at the core of identity. Yet countless chosen ones throughout history have discovered that their non-conforming sexuality was intimately connected to their ability to see beyond conventional boundaries in all areas. Those who love differently often think differently, create differently, lead differently. The very thing you were told disqualifies you from divine purpose might be the exact quality that enables your unique contribution. Others carry forbidden desires around taboo subjects they can barely let themselves think about. These are the desires that come with the most shame, the most fear of judgment. But even these contain messages. Jung would say, especially these contain messages because the psyche doesn't waste energy on things that don't matter. If something haunts you, if it keeps returning no matter how hard you push it away, it's trying to tell you something essential about your nature and your path. Not that you should act it out, but that you need to understand what it represents symbolically. The work isn't to judge whether a desire is good or bad. The work is to sit with it, to get curious about it, to ask what it's really reaching for beneath the surface. A forbidden desire for complete freedom might be showing you that you've caged yourself in a life that's killing your spirit. A forbidden longing for deep commitment might reveal that you've been running from intimacy because early wounds taught you it wasn't safe. A desire that seems purely physical might be your body's way of telling you that you've become too intellectual and need to return to the wisdom of sensation and instinct. Integrating your forbidden desire doesn't mean acting it out recklessly or hurting others. It means bringing it into consciousness, understanding its symbolic meaning, and finding healthy ways to honor the truth it contains. When you stop fighting this part of yourself, massive amounts of energy become available for your actual work. The internal war ends, peace arrives, and from that peace, your real purpose can finally emerge and express itself fully. The forbidden desire was never the enemy. It was the guardian of your deepest truth, waiting for you to become brave enough to look. You now hold the complete map that Jung spent his lifetime uncovering. Your sexual desires are not random impulses to be ashamed of or suppressed. They are divine communication written in the oldest language your soul understands. Every fantasy carries symbols pointing to your mission. Every physical sensation is God speaking through your body. Every person who attracts you is a teacher showing you what you need to become. And every forbidden longing you've been afraid to acknowledge holds the concentrated power you need to fulfill your destiny. The chosen ones throughout history have always known this secret, that sexuality and spirituality are not enemies, but partners in the dance of becoming who you were created to be. Stop running from your desires and start reading them like the sacred scripture they are. Your purpose has been calling to you through every impulse, every attraction, every dream you've ever had. The only question left is whether you're finally ready to answer that call and step into the life that's been waiting for you all along.